What's up, YouTube? So install is complete. The turbo itself, out of this whole deal, so with the PCV plate, the catch cans, the downpipe, charge pipes, turbo was by far the easiest to get in this car. Um, I've heard with some other turbo kits that I've seen guys pull the passenger side CV shaft out and slide it through that way. I've seen guys take the motor mount out and put a ratchet strap on the block, pull everything forward. I didn't have to do any of that with the B&R. I had it assembled minus the oil line, minus the water line, and minus the um, turbo inlet adapter. Slid in just fine. I had to finagle it and rotate it, index it a little bit, but it slid in. I would say I had the turbo hanging on the studs out of the head in like maybe 25 minutes. So that was painless. Got everything bolted up, water lines in, oil lines in. I still need to put fluid in it. The last three challenges that I had that were a pretty tremendous pain in the ass was the exhaust. So I wasn't able to use that whoosh machined part that steps from 3 to 2.5 inch with the chamfer in it. I didn't want to sit under there with a hammer and try and bang the studs out of the factory catback exhaust. So I ditched that, used an exhaust gasket, put that together. But I did have to, it took me 3 or 4 tries to get everything lined up. So I didn't have any problem mating the downpipe to the turbine exhaust housing adapter. That was fine. But what I did have problems with was getting the downpipe hanger bracket mated and then getting the catback exhaust lined up to the flange on the downpipe. So I ended up the third or fourth time that I got it right. What did I do? I had the bolts for the downpipe hanger bracket hand tight. I ran the bolts for the um, downpipe flange to catback almost all the way in. I cranked down the V-band, torqued it to spec on the downpipe to turbine housing adapter, exhaust housing, and then I went back and torqued everything down. So the whoosh, sorry guys, I'm tired. The whoosh downpipe bracket hanger, and then the catback flange to the downpipe flange. So that was fine. The charge pipes were another story. That sucked. I'll get a flashlight and crawl under here and show you guys. Um, I kind of made a mistake. I didn't mock anything up under the car when I welded this flange on for the tile cube blow-off valve. So if you look at where it's at, I could have gone much further in on that bend. So honestly, I got lucky for just eyeballing it and mocking it up. But just to show you how close this is, I have got like a literal cunt hair in between the ECU harness protector and the blow-off valve. It was so tight that I actually took the bolts out of the ECU box, pushed that thing out of the way, installed the downpipe, and then put this back. So let me crawl under here and I'll show you guys what's going on. Same thing with the downpipe. I had to do this in a sequence, and I had to figure out, how much engagement each one of these couplers needed to be on the downpipe, on the intercooler. The brackets, I had to bend these brackets a little bit, and in the process of getting this thing in, I need to go back and fix this, but I actually cross-threaded that bolt. You can see it's not all the way in there, so I got to go back and chase that thread. But went in, got it together. When I first mocked this thing up under the car last night, I kind of freaked out and thought I was going to have to trash the hot side charge pipe and probably go get one from 3P Performance or somebody like that. But here's what the outlet looks like with the 90 Again, I had to do some finagling. When I first put this thing on here, there was a huge kink in that hose, and it did not sit very well. But after, I don't know, 8 or 10 tries of pulling this thing out, I got it. There's another capture right there. This tab is slotted, so you can slide it over. So it wasn't pretty, but it works. And then the cold side, this was even tighter, so there is no room between that compressor housing and the charge pipe. I'm not super worried about it because it's locked in there pretty tight. That might be an issue that could cause some false knock. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna loosen this up and readjust everything. You can see I put a secondary jam nut or flange nut on that stud. If I guess I could have bent that bracket up a little bit further, but there was no way this thing was going to suck up all the way against that housing with how close it already is. So my other area of concern is the oil filter adapter that's touching. So again, I'm gonna loosen this thing up and see if I can get a little wiggle room out of it. Getting that coupler tight on the lower hose clamp was a tremendous bitch. I had to snake through the wheel well with like 5 or 6 extensions to get that thing tight, but again, got it in there. Other side of the charge pipes hooked up, so that's all kosher. Here is my boost reference line hooked up. So all in all, I'm pretty happy. I've had much worse installs with other cars in the past. So the only thing that's left is fill it with fluids, do a dry cycle start, get some oil flowing. I'm probably going to let this thing warm up and do a couple heat cycles to get the crush washers and everything else to create a seal. Do that a few times in the garage, let it sit, and hopefully everything's good and it didn't leak. I did buy, unfortunately I have a bunch of my tools in Fontana, California still, so I'm limited with the resources that I have in my garage here. But I bought a coolant vacuum kit to pull a vacuum on the coolant system and get all the air bubbles out of this thing when I go to fill it up with coolant. But I bought a really shitty one off of Amazon, and I didn't even get it off the bench before it broke. So I've got the car jacked up in the front at an angle, so I'll fill this thing up. I probably got like, I don't know, a little over a gallon of coolant out of this thing, but the coolant was in good shape before. So I'll fill this up, let it idle, get some of the air bubbles out of it, probably jack it up again once I bring it back, once I shake it down, and get some logs from the base tune, and we'll go from there. I am running an SN Plus GF6 rated oil from Royal Purple. Doesn't really matter as long as you run an SN Plus oil, you should be fine with this thing. It's supposed to help with LSPI, but I mean, your driving habits are going to dictate whether you burn this thing up or not. And what else? I do run some additives. I run some tough oil, and I might even try and run some of that Liqui-Moly Ceratec. So if you have any questions, shoot me a message or comment or however this YouTube thing works, and I will be happy to share anything else that I might have missed. Thanks, guys.